Our story begins with our acquaintance with the main character. She lay beaten, she looked like she was dead, she was tormented by hunger, and she still didn't understand what it was. They began to beat her, and from the right she almost died, which was because she dared to steal the bread. Soon, the girl's eyes began to grow cloudy between death and her thoughts about her past life. All that remains is that she remembers from her previous life the things that she lost in a plane crash. Vaughn was amazed at herself and noticed that she had childish hands. There were so many books beside her, and one of them lit up in front of her. On it was written the name of the end of eternal fire, in the middle of which there is a novel about which she read before her death. The great power said that she was prepared to live a new life, and so her soul seeped into the pages of the great book. She sat there and was already beaten, being powerless and hungry. She still didn't know what she was doing. It seemed that she had the biggest role to play, as only the unfortunate foal could be identified. The girl thought about her body, and this also has its own history. Misfortunes began to appear, people who were obsessed with her telling the girl that she had allowed her to live in her Volodinia, but she was not welcome to you, and then punished her to leave Volodinia out of sight of his eyes. Our heroine understands what plot in this book is important, and everything will become more beautiful, and even in this novel there is a bad ending. She smelled the smell of bread, although last time she had a meal, and today you can't leave anyone without bread. I was deprived of the right moment. As many of the masters of the shop called and turned out, the girl immediately pulled out the bread. She already thought that she was lucky, but literally, a second later, she snatched the vlasnik and took the bread, throwing it away. The unfortunate child was lying on the brook in the middle of the aisle, and a young lady was helping her. The unknown was fed by how many of her rocks? The child with fear guessed that she had exactly 8 rocks. The fair-haired lady became tired and did not want the child to sing with her. Our heroine immediately thought that the slave trader wanted to take her into slavery, so the girl was afraid of the news. The woman immediately introduced herself. Her name was Violetta, and she was a countess. The child could not guess what kind of 7 mana this character was, and she could not even think about it even as she began to feel hunger. Feeling that the hungry woman over there said that there was a bunch of tasty food in them at home, like fresh baked meat and liver, because if she didn't want to go, she would have to eat it all herself. This provided sufficient motivation for the child to immediately follow her, even if such a beautiful girl or a merchant could not. Having arrived before Volodin Fitz, the girl was looked at by the apartments. Having taken care of her, the good woman was not all right and ordered to call the doctor. For an hour, our heroine was in awe, as she would take a bath, and there would be such a luxurious bath there, even if there was no face there. The girl understood what she wanted, and the chambers looked strict. They were not to be judged by their appearance, but they were fun. After the bath procedures, the child drank tea, and couldn't believe that such good people existed. Previously, she lived in a town where her ruler and servants had a small, greedy character, and in whose house the good ruler was to blame, thought the child. And it is obvious that they are not engaged in the slave trade here. Looking at her dress, she realized that she might have the best dress in her life, and she would wear such a beautiful outfit for the first time. The chambers began to spin around like a girl, and admired herself in the capture of her, and she seemed even sweeter to them. Having decided to let the chambers admire her, her pride was shattered. Raptum guessed that she was still a child. That young lady could not lose herself again without help, and she was thinking about how to provide herself with the best brains. The servants immediately called them to the table, and the cook was already preparing the most delicious herbs that you can only detect. Forgetting all about her pride, the girl grabbed the bed by the hand and said that she really wanted to eat. At the evening, the table was already bursting with so many hedgehog bones, but everything looked so delicious that she simply stuffed the hedgehog into her cheeks. The chamber already wanted to eat it, but Violetta ordered not to touch it and just prepare food for the grub tract. It's amazing that after the bath, the girl guessed even more about that same person. She couldn't believe that they could be so similar while being completely strangers to the same people. The chamber decided not to tell Violet about Lord Adrian. The woman confirmed that she was coming and asked about him, and that she respects the creator so much. All at sea, awkwardly, and even the young child died immediately after the people, and that's a fact. But no matter how much she wouldn't have thought about it, it seems that she managed to meet Adrian's young sister. The woman guessed that she recently asked to check her family connections in the temple. Viscount's rumor, it seems that his mother just wanted pennies. It seemed amazing that the Viscount had light blue eyes. Now the girl realized that Adriana's sister was not dead. 6 fates ago, at about that very hour, a child was born into the Viscount's family, and it is necessary to find out about the fact that the dead child had a horny scourge and blue eyes. The lady ordered to find out about that woman, who gave birth to a child for taking, and how many pennies she received for it. About an hour later, the Count and his squad reported that they had just finished dealing with the right in Volodya, and around the next week they would return to the mansion. Violetta wanted to marry her, and she knows how difficult it was for Adrian's family. Our heroine had eaten enough at that hour and went straight to bed. The woman plucked one hair from the head of the sleeping girl so that tomorrow they would take Adrian's hair and return to the temple. As soon as the little girl woke up, Violetta was next to her. At first, our heroine could not figure out who it was, and then she wondered what the good auntie had fed her yesterday. The girl burst into tears and even thought that she had become a slave, but suddenly, the woman simply began to laugh, even though it was illegal. She hugged the child and said that she never thought about that. As soon as the child felt the enmity of their feelings about the woman, they completely changed. Some time ago, Violetta said that they were going to get ready for a trip, and that today they were going to the house of her close friend, Adrian Yeston. I feel like in the head of our girl, there flashed a clue of dumb people. She knows, it seems, that the same name was the hero of the novel. That's a book with a rotten ending. Everything came to our heroine. That same girl with the horny hair lived in shambles. Because of this situation, the girl covered herself with a carpet and began to be very afraid. Violetta calmed the child down. Finally, the girl was worried about the fact that all the hedgehogs and all the luxuries were not yet possible, but it was wrong to earn anything. The lady said that everything here was only for her, and the child felt as if Violetta was a dumb angel. Until now, she couldn't believe that this whole Sustrich was not a dream. Surprisingly, her new life was no longer hot, and the beautiful silent field of flowers was beautiful. The child's wrapped at night, having fallen into a silent dream. An unknown man knocks the fork of meat out of the mistress's hands and says that soon this business will end. I want the woman and the child's body to understand that the need for action and strength arises only in order to eat and sleep. Vaughn wanted to calm herself down by thinking about the fact that she is not in the novel and that everything is an illusion. Raptum, there was a toy that was like a bear that was already known and known to us. He immediately turned around, realizing that the girl in the dream was trimming it in its volumes, and the seal was removed. Vaughn did not want to believe that the witch of the witches, that everything is possible, even though the spirit has special power. That girl didn't want anything, she just wanted the bear to get away, and started to run in. Feeling a wonderful noise, Violetta came, and the child rushed into her arms. The woman asked if the child was thirsty, and added that everything would be fine. Our heroine felt incredibly welcome in the woman's hands, and was also incredibly charming. Seeing such affection and warmth from the woman, she immediately fell asleep. Violetta cried, as the child cried a lot. She was not at all like other children. While our heroine was sleeping, the woman admired her and could not believe that the child was so similar to Adrian Yeston. Before the rest of the child, the man with the leaf in the new boule received results on the establishment of a biological connection. As soon as the woman opened it and read it, she learned that it is possible for relatives to converge by as much as 100,000. In particular, the living child of Volodya Duke Eston is a representative of one of the richest families of the Ferdin Empire. The child woke up again and still couldn't understand why she was in this place. At that time, Violetta ate as she slept and encouraged her to hug the bear. Even though there was a tornado of different thoughts and emotions in our heroine's head, she still got there and said that everything was fine. Having thought for a moment that this was the same rotten novel, Violetta could not possibly have identified her doctors. The woman said that the girl would soon go home. Tim an hour, the butler said that the Duke and Duchess of Yeston had arrived. The turbulent fathers ran up to the room and couldn't believe what their child was like. The woman added confirmation from the temple that the child and Adrian were planning a trial relationship. From marriage, our heroine learns that she was the daughter of a duke. Even though the children's fathers believed Violetta, she wanted to do a repeat check and ordered the butler to repeat the request to the temple. The duke's squad called out with a rapt, the chambers did not reach them, and they fell to the ground. No one could understand what was hiding here. At this point, our heroine realized that she was going through a novel in what kind of mischief a bloody end, and what a time it would be impossible to get over it. The novel in which it was lost is called The End of Eternal Fire. The main heroine in this story is Violetta Fitz, and the hero is the crown prince of the empire, Zircon Ferdin. Adrian Eston was showing off in front of her, and in the future, he will become the prince's lieutenant. Even in their childhood, Violetta and Zircon decided to become friends with each other, and through that love was one-sided. Adrian ends up living a life of self-destruction without even knowing that she really wanted her lover. In the end, the heroes die, and from the title of the novel, When the Fire Goes Out, it's no longer a crooked ending. Our heroine did know that in this story, there was a sad ending and everything seemed to work out on its own. At times, Adrian thought the child was like an angel, wanting at that moment to have power in his head. On the morning of His Majesty, she was drinking tea. Violetta was sitting opposite her, as the child did not want to get tired. Vaughn thought for so long that she was starting to get hungry. At this moment, representatives of the temple arrived, and a new test showed that their biological relatives were more than 100,000. Now that the couple was singing, they couldn't even think that the child was Eknya. Tim, a representative of the temple, said that the couple could fight at any moment for help, even if they donated a lot of pennies to their work. Wanting to go quickly so that they don't attract him with work, Violetta said that there is only one on the right before him. The little girl was beaten quite badly, and her wounds had not yet healed, and it would take more than an hour for the stench to smell like a natural smell. Violetta asked to look at the child again. The representative of the temple had nowhere to go when he began to inspect the healing process. The girl's fathers were shocked at how much she suffered. They were wondering who they were so fooled by. Over time, the Chakloon's hands worked their magic. All the blues and beauty on the girl's body simply disappeared. After this procedure, the child immediately fell into a deep sleep. Adrian put the child in bed and walked until the flight, although he wanted to know what was going on. But it was impossible to understand how it turned out that the girl lived in trouble on her own. Raptum Mater guessed that her room, Rosalia, had given her child to Viscount Beryl for pennies. The couple chimed in with Violetta, and then they finally got together with their little girl again. At this point, we can recognize the name of the main character, and even Vaconde, without ever going by her name. The girl's name was Rafina, and the woman respected her beautifully. For a long time now, our heroine has been thinking in detail about what she needs to earn in order to make sure she doesn't end up with anything she really wants. Vedmajatko asked about why she was turbulent, and added that she didn't want to listen to the story. That Rafina had no time for this. She was thinking about how to live and move on. Suddenly, a wonderful idea came into her head. The plot has now turned in a different direction. And even in the original, Violetta did not give the plush teddy bear to anyone, and she was praised for it. And based on this information, it is possible that people who are guilty of a bad end can independently prevent all the terrible deaths. If the arch is lost alive, then the kingdom will also not fall and will not experience mass death. The girl's thoughts still wanted to be interrupted by the witch who wanted to find out what was going on. That girl knew that she wanted to gain intelligence, and in her original image, she would become a majestic, greedy wild bear, for there is absolutely nothing wrong with tearing people apart. The only drawback of this driving machine is that it is incredibly bad. The witch immediately said that she underestimates him, even the deity itself, and I know all the hidden secrets of the created world, and she also knows about the girl's plans to change the future. I want Rafina to share everything with him, even if she really wants to help, although in the original, she's a bad person, but she still has incredible value. Rafina shared information about everything she knows about the history of the world, but having felt these words, they began to speak nonsense again. Otherwise, our heroines would need just one more answer and could possibly change in the future. The witch, crossing her arms calmly, believed that it was entirely possible. In the original, Zircon and Violetta tie a hooker with each other, and Adrian, heartbroken, dies. The solution is absolutely simple, forced Zircon to immediately make friends on the other side. The idea was still good, but the witch did not think about the fact that the boy was too young for this. But the horny witch didn't think it was a problem, even if he could get his hands on it right away and have fun while he was growing up. Rafina could not figure out how Zircon could be enlisted. That witch of faith wanted to change the future and leave everything behind her at once. Zircon was the main character. His mother died of a serious illness, and Adrian left him. She was so overcome by grief that she was silently obsessed with Violetta, the main character, and ultimately became the cause of her death. The young lady began to worry. She thought that, through this, the main hero would become attached so strongly to her and not to the main heroine. But the witch doctor had his own case, saying that solving all the problems is extremely simple and even just requires not allowing the main character's mother to die. For Rafina, this task seemed impossible, but here her plush friend knew a good way out. If a child can achieve legendary value, then the illness can be cured. Before that, the witch knew where I was joking. While our heroine was not completely convinced of everything, and everyone who left each other, as everything is true, there is no sense in her of all the madness. Rafina was so desperate for the salvation of the whole world that she began to imagine how she would reject Zirkon's pledges and fly and create a new alliance. Then she wanted her older brother to marry her and make everyone happy. The bear thought all the little bits were wild. The girl decided to ask her new friend what his name was, and he introduced himself as Alexander Rubius Fernand Valloni. So since it was too late for her, she simply decided to call him a bear. Alexander was greatly annoyed by this extremely childish call, and having started to hit the girl with her plush paws, she could not remember his name at all. Eston visited the heroine's room. Rafina wanted to pretend to sleep, but hugging the doctor, tried to fall asleep. Stroking her father's hair, she couldn't even imagine how hard it was for her to live without them. But I'm sure I'll be familiar with them again. And Rafina is a strong child, so she'll soon get used to everything and won't worry. The couple cheered for the fact that she had found her child. The raft of the girl's hair poked up behind the unknown, and that was Adrian. Violetta already wanted to go get away, but then the girl stopped pretending, and suddenly, standing up from the bed, they asked the girl to find him. Rafina, with tears in her eyes, hugged the girl and asked her not to go away. At that time, the heroine could not understand why she began to cry and even just wanted to ask her to leave. Rather, for everything that she goes through in the child's body, she really comes to her senses and reacts to everything in such a dumb child. While at the meal, the girl again ate everything she could. Everyone was amazed at her wildly dumb, but they still came to their senses, even though she had spent a long time with the indentured servants and lived incredibly poorly. Violetta was only happy to feed the baby, but she asked her to chew everything respectfully, even if she might get dry. Seeing this picture, Rafina's mother burst into tears, even though her beloved child had been starving for a long time. The Duke then asked the butler to find out how Rafina herself lived in the Viscount's house. While bathing the girl, Violetta showed her the sweet nature of how she had worked her back. Our heroine was shocked at how talented this woman was. Taking a bath with her was even more fun. After the bath, Violetta dressed the girl and said that from now on, she would live with her family. That word Simya for the heroine was an unknown even in the past life, and every day for her was a real hell. Vaughn got into trouble with the family through pennies and eventually died in a plane crash. So as those people brought and faceless suffering, it became clear that they would no longer be able to find their beloved family. Adrian became a rapist over the girl, introducing himself as his older brother. Vin squatted on her stomach and yapped at her as she turned around, loving his little sister even more. Now the members of her homeland came to her only with tenderness, but she did not know how she could allow herself to enjoy these happinesses. Vaughn slept in the same bed as her mother, and there was no time for sleep even if she needed to survive Adrian's death. Rafina immediately caught herself thinking about those things and could not think that if she had a married family and would be able to call someone moms, if the witch named her the Duchess, then she would be very happy. The young lady overfed the bear and told him not to sleep, and ordered him not to call him that, and to call him Alexander, and asked for sleep. Being in such a warm and welcoming environment, the mother behind did not want it to end until it was over. She told herself that now she was definitely worried about the end of the filth. The Duchess no longer cried every time she cried to Rafina, just like Rafina herself. So if she asked her father to hug him, our heroine would become the most terrible enemy for her. Then he was constantly asked not to be present in his Don's room for now. The young lady could not forget that she was very crooked, and the Viscount herself was constantly trampling on her hands and could not stop thinking about it. Adrian interrupted her thoughts and handed her a licorice caramel heart, then finished drinking and didn't want to have a snack. Vona Mitya sipped the malt from her brother's hands. And after that, she asked Adriana and Violetta to sing with her. The stench wafted into the garden. For an hour, the Duke thought about the reason for his daughter's fears, and rather for all that she was very much afraid of adult men. The man's thoughts were intertwined and incredibly terrible, not wanting to know what his child had to go through. Before that, the table is so small and tendernous, her small arms and legs are so thin, and everything is covered in blue. He promised to pay for everything, and through those who made him suffer, he won't find him. Watching the interaction between Adrian and the young lady, she silently marveled at the scene from the romantic film. Tim Chaz Alexander, having wondered what the main problem in Zircon was, the girl got along with him, but it was still unclear why they got married after all. The birth of another son from the king became a threat to Zircon, and even when he took the place of the heir to the throne, his relatives who were in the royal court were pressed on him. The woman who chose Violetta was between them, there was no love, and the goal was to force the throne. But in the end, everything led to the recognition of Violet's broad feelings only after the death of Adrian, from which everything our heroines became even more confused. If Rafina becomes engaged to the young heir to the throne, then nothing will happen. But there is one problem even if no one takes seriously the child's words about getting married to the same child. It is necessary to quickly take off Zircon's clothes and take her into the squad, and if the food about the lover immediately knows about her, the decision of the bear seemed ideal. The girl, after thinking for 3 minutes, paid a compliment to Alexander Aja, who was no longer as bad as she thought. At times, Adrian was feeding her and swearing about her in every way, and the child was happy to give her everything. The twins got their food from their older brother and fed them the same way. That Rafina told them to get out, and they weren't supposed to do that. The brother asked her what she wanted first, and the little girl said she wanted cake. We were twins, and just out of extreme hunger, she ate the whole cake. Mom was pleased and marveled at her beautiful daughter, even though she had to go through so much, and now hopes that her days will be nothing but happy moments. Violetta had already gotten ready to leave for what Father Rafina's carriage was preparing for, but they didn't know how they asked her, and to deprive her of another 3, but the girl said that she had to ask them so much. Still, our heroine's mother wanted to pay back, and Violetta was convinced of any propositions and would even be indifferent to her. To say goodbye, our little heroine hugged the girl tightly and didn't want to let her go. She confirmed that now she has a loving homeland and that there will be a lot of family in the future. After thinking for a while, Rafina confirmed that the girl still had to come tomorrow. The lady said that she would arrive before her next day, surprisingly, but just one wordless family could bring an incredible amount of warmth to the child as she said goodbye and thought about the words of her ritual. Now the child's head has lost the remaining key detail, so it's not enough to earn money. The girl told her older brother to hurry up and see Violetta off before it was too late, and she didn't have to go alone, so the girl herself asked her to come tomorrow. Adrian told the dads that he would see Violetta off and immediately turn around. Mom asked Rafina to live together, and for the coming week, a special room would be prepared for her. The girl turned around and was overfed and didn't feel like it. Her mother confirmed that it was all true, and that she would sleep with her any time soon. Vaughn asked that the child is not against the girl who threw off her towel and shook her head, saying that she is not at all against it, but all respect will be for her. Then the young lady wished that she would be glad to call her plush friend Mom, and then she would be happy. The child lovingly hugged her mother and deprived Alexander because he was evil and even wanted him to be called by name. Knocked in the room, wanting to play with his little sister before going to bed. Rafina began to dance and even thought that this is not true. Adrian, having handed her a new toy and wanting the newborn children to play with it, was still captivated by her. The twins also really wanted to have fun with her and encouraged her to play as dolls and read as Cossacks. Rafina prompted her older brother to tell Violetta that she knew what she was supposed to do. According to the plot, the elder brother of Violetta from the very childhood seemed even more sentimental. While her brother was already praising Violetta, the girl said that it would be a miracle if they all lived at once. Raptum being in the arms of her mother, she screamed out loud that she wanted Violetta to become friends with her brother. They were all smelling strongly, and Adrian was happy that the girl called him brother. That plan was not completed, but the boy felt deprived of what he wanted. The bear was lying on the side and showing that this was a complete failure, as it appeared to know a couple that would be much more important from the beginning. Rafina thought that nothing good could come of her brother, so she needed to move on to a backup plan and herself until she loved Zircan. The girl got drunk when her brother Violetta arrived. The twins got angry, and even though they could call him that, a girl just came out of the carriage. Our heroine and her brother got together. The girl who always hugged Violetta was very glad that she had arrived. As it turned out, she arrived without Zircon. Good decisions were made to leave with Violetta and crown the future heir to the throne. Although her brother did not understand that it was not good for the girls to live at home, she still worked for their good. Our heroine learned from Violetti to be friends, even with Adrian, as it turned out that she was a good friend named Zircon and the crown prince of the whole kingdom. Rafina asked for more details and looked incredibly sad. The lady revealed that the heir to the throne is extremely popular, although the girl does not want to admit that he is indeed very handsome. The girl immediately began to wonder why Violetta respected him as beautiful for Adriana, and the lady slyly suggested that they both stink on the same level. The girl found it surprising that even though she was a little girl, she liked her friend so much, but she still found it incredibly sweet that she wanted to know more about her. Rafina added that she wanted to get to know all of Violetta's friends. The girl thought it was incredibly sweet and decided to come with Jurkan the next day. At that time, the Duke tried in every possible way to please his daughter, treating her with incredibly tasty sweets, and the girl could not stand up to them. The chambers assured that the young lady's heart was not in front of her father, but her mother was pleased and even cried out to her father. But in the end, she was still able to open her heart to him. Recently, my father no longer gave in to the scary and barking noises, and there is a strong connection between them. Both the Duke and the Duchess were very close and looked incredibly happy, and the girl wanted to keep everyone safe. The twins ran up from behind Stinks, and they didn't want Raffen to play in the Hovanki. The Stinks added that it would be incredibly fun. The girl was about to be deprived of a promotion because she thought that someone would be rewarded with up to 100, but they asked not to, and even worried about her. Even though there was more to the life of the main character, she still continued to behave like a child, and she was even more benign. Vaughn took a shower to get excited, having washed the column. She thought what a wonderful place for a Hovanka. Standing behind her was an invisible, dark-haired man. The girl swore heavily and thought that she was a monster, and the unknown person asked her not to shout and introduced herself as a special person. You were given orders to follow her for an hour. But all the same, the girl was playing in the Hovanki, and it was not enough to get excited, having already established the Hovanki in the house, and even more than happy it was not safe for our heroines. She didn't show off and moved the boys who escaped far from the new Aja Hovanka. This is a war, and you can't just lose it. The girl ran so hard that she didn't notice that she hit the black-haired young man. Tibuv Zirkan Ferdin, Yogo could not be confused with anyone else but whoever needs it. He was truly incredibly beautiful, but she couldn't even imagine how tall he would be. Just then, Violetta came up. She lifted the little girl into her arms and began to drink. As it turned out that she fell in. She immediately noticed that there was no pause between the children, and she decided to introduce them one by one. Rafina was ruined and didn't even know what to say. Now I think she probably blurted out that she wanted to marry someone else she'd been dating for a long time, but she still took the young prince by the sleeve and said, "Let's be friends." I can't wait looking at her with my beautiful eyes, and still not saying a single word, the girl took it as a surprise. That Rafina is obliged to conclude a home agreement with him and may have 2 more fates before the main character goes to the academy. After the silence of the Jurkan, for a long time, the appearance of the girl was filled with an incredible amount of joy. Violetta thought it was even sweeter and started kissing our heroine. It was so fitting for Violetta that she began to quarrel, and she no longer needed to begin to be jealous and did not want to marry her. Rafina burst into tears, even though she knew that Violetta was guilty of lying to her brother, and she knew exactly who the girl would fall into. The fear that her brother would die in complete isolation made her cry loudly, and she couldn't allow that to happen. Vaughn ran up and took Zirkin by the hand, saying that she had to marry him. The lad chuckled and began to laugh a lot. Having become so beautiful that she had already dazzled the girl with her beauty, the young lady thought that her plan was already in progress and that she had gotten out of everything. Adrian rushed up to them, having seen the girl in the boy's arms, immediately taking her and covering him with himself. Having said that, it became unreasonable, and sooner for everything my sister had mercy. And the wonderful brother, with the most generous soul, the assistant of the main character, in no way can we just make such a barking expression and unreasonably face-lifting Rafina. Adriano confirmed that his sister wants to marry someone else, and his brother said that everything should be deprived of empty, childish words, even though she recently suffered 6 fates, without thinking that you can trust the words as a child says. There was a strong increase in aggression between the two boys. The tension was clearly visible in the wind. Violetta and all those present wanted Adrian to react so quickly. The girl tried to calm the boy down and hugged him, saying that he shouldn't worry so much, and she also added that if his sister was fussing on the right, he would become even more serious. Having thought about his behavior for a while, Adrian realized that, having become more excited, Rafina wants to be young and still a lady. The fathers of our heroine could not believe that the girl would say such a shameful thing to the heir to the throne himself. The Stinks began to sway violently in front of him and revealed that she had only turned home sooner, for all this was just childish games. But the heir to the throne had a gift for her, hoping that he would accept it. In Zirkan's novel, there is a connection with the deities of the desire, and with whom there is a single spirit that can control. This is the spirit of the water that seals in the bracelet. The girl began to bawl loudly when she shook her head. The young prince recognized that Her Majesty the Queen asked him to give her bracelet as a gift, and then delivered it to her husband. Everything seemed so amazing to the girls, and in keeping with the plot of the novel, the fateful bracelet must get through to the plane and then release its magical powers. Violetta gave her a teddy bear, and the spirit in the middle was writhing, but spirits that are sealed in objects do not just wake up. Show yourself that there is nothing special about their choice and magical objects that they themselves chose for our heroine. Only people who carry magic can use such words as the spirit of the Lord of the Ruler and will once again lose their seal in the object. It turns out that the witch himself chose the girl. Then her mother took the bracelet and showed it to the girl. She added that this was a gift from the royal homeland and encouraged her to wear it. The bracelet she was wearing was too big, but even though she wrapped it around her hand twice, it still stuck to hers. The girl was afraid that she would lose her breath right away. It seems that this spirit was inspired by her. Our heroines became much lighter in their souls, because in this hour, adding one would be enough, and later it would be necessary to turn the bracelet to Zirkan. Our heroine's mother was very happy for her. She asked for the bracelet she deserved, and added that she was already passing. The young lady reluctantly said that everything worked out just as long as her mother was happy. The girl didn't know what to do and what she had to do to go to the queen and tell her everything about the spirit and everything for the sake of a happy ending. As the heir to the throne, he chuckled and then bathed the whole room in incredible beauty. Feeling everything, the girl looked even crazy looking at Zirkan. She sensed his self-worth, and it seemed she already knew what would happen to him in the future. At one time you will laugh widely, but after a couple of rocks, you will probably come back to your senses. The veterinarian said that she is smart enough to change the future, and everything will work out in it. And if it does, there will be more in it, and there won't be any trouble. The bear hugged the girl and said that he had chosen her for a reason, and asked him to think more carefully about how to win Zirkan's heart. Rafina was thinking about the family of the heir to the throne, whose mother, the queen, wanted to know more about his relatives, about the king, queen, and young brother. These people themselves will become the cause of Zirkan's madness. As Alexander learned between his brothers, the goods are not very good, although they stink and cannot be good. The doctor laughed evilly and said that this was good for them, and even then, it would be much easier to get close to him, guards her so jealously. If this method is used, you will be able to secure Zirkan's bonds and fly. The main focus is on what is needed to win the heart of the heir to the throne. The veterinarian laughed and told the girls not to boast, even though this is the only surefire option. She was only able to gather all her will into a fist and come to visit the boy, but he was not visible. The servants said that they were off to the library. Really got tired of her too. Rendelyaki everywhere ye suprovodjuvev. In the boy's jokes, the girl got very angry and started rapping him, who was sitting on the windowsill, then clutching the book in his hands. Without thinking for long, she came up to the new one, and the boy immediately greeted her. The girl was in captivity in front of him, and suddenly she thought about it and realized that there was a chance to start a relationship with him. Walked around with her for 3 years, and still realized that action was necessary, so she decided that she wanted to make friends on it. Yunak laughed, although the girl had lost something, and lost a strong curse because it was so hard. Vaughn was aware that it was necessary to work on a proposition for the new skin once the stench had settled down. Then their older brother and Violetta caught the two of them in the library. Zircon hovered 3 times over Adrian and believed that he was ready to become Rafina's man. He looked at Adrian and wondered what to do before his sister becomes the heir to the throne. That mockery lasted a long time, ceasing to be serious, and laughing at the way Adrian looked. But the girl didn't know how to react. In order to consolidate the result, she took the boy by the hand and asked him to come tomorrow, and after a while, she chimed and kissed the boy's hand, and even bodily contact is the best method for getting closer. The girl was drawn to the plan and quickly awakened to the fact that there was some kind of Jerkan import in her bracelet. An invisible force spoke from the bracelet. It seemed that it had been counting on a bunch of fates and had suddenly awakened. The Countess didn't want to do anything, but asked him not to freak out and turn back. The bear recognized the spirit from the bracelet, Tse-Bouv Orphan, the spirit of water. In the original novel, Zircon hates him and wants to make him kind and nice. That was one negative side of him, barking terribly. Zircon was a pure angel with him. The girl could not hear all the lily roses she covered with her ear. The bear also began to respond to the bracelet. Orphan asked the bear to be thrown away. The girl calmed down and punished the two to be quiet. Raptum really wanted to sleep. She fit comfortably between her two fathers and immediately fell asleep, since living in the body of a child is even more important, even if she quickly wants to sleep. Selena's room told Rafina that she thought the girl was incredibly cute and looked like a Bielka. She had quite a wondrous view of the world, but still the dress was actually prettier. She was awakened by a miraculous force, but surprisingly, last night, she was still not dreaming. She would have been even more glad that it was all just a dream. The chamber sensed that Rosmova's girl was with the bear, and she got too drunk. As she herself said, Rafina panicked and said that she was just messing around with the bear. The deceased did not find it surprising, but to tell the dear ones she was just a child, the woman added that if the girl needed it, she would definitely call her. For an hour, Rafina argued with Orphan that he was guilty of the spirit of Zircane, and not her, and said that, having chosen her, she promised that she knew well. Orphan is good enough not to banish him, but the witch wants to spoil him, and the husky appears again among the spirits. The girl punished the two, but quietly huddled behind her head. She didn't know what to do, wanting to think that the bracelet couldn't be broken just like that, but the queen's gift to him couldn't be thrown away. The girl asked the bracelet to be quieter. After a while, she said that I would bring her to her senses. The rest of the room noticed that the girl was pleased with Tsikova Rozmova and also wanted to know. Vaughn prepared a small gift for her, a bow for the doctor, tying her backpack correctly, and now she and Alexander can spend an hour together. It was fitting to tell the bear himself. In such a way, the girl looked exactly like a child. Adrian asked Rafini that he didn't want to go for a walk, even if the weather was fine, and he also said that the little girl over there was dumb, just like the rest of the room said. The fathers went on the right, and the twins were busy with their teachers, and the smell of today would be with their older brother all day long. It seemed like a miracle that all the same, Jerkana had come to his senses before the girl had come up with a cunning plan to talk to him about Violetta. Walking around the yard, she got drunk on what a girl befits Adrian, and we calmly confirmed that it's better. Vin and Viviv for Sarasmova, and I recognized that she smelled garish, and in her very low and gentle voice, in adding that it was very cool as if Violetta lived together with them. The girl had been wandering around for a while and screamed that she wanted her to become a part of their family. The lad, having fed on his sister, rapped and sees the same one to Zircan. It was interesting why Rafina fell in love with mirrors so much. The girl already drew attention to it, then added that Violetta befitted her, and she deserved wine. Although I wanted to change my character in a new way, I still realized that I had to change the future. Adrian said that it is very appropriate for a girl to say that his greatness does not mean that it is necessary to start talking about fun before he doesn't really know what such a whore is. Raptum Rafina confirmed that their fathers are also at the whore's side, and they also confirmed that they are still grown up and still small. At the end of the day, the girl screamed and said that as soon as she grew up, she would soon marry Zircon. Rafina began to get very nervous because her brother didn't understand everything, but he didn't want to know that he was doing it only for the sake of someone else and for the good of the whole kingdom. The girl started yelling at her brother, and she said that life is important, and because it presents difficult tasks that need to be solved, she said that you can't get too excited about it and that it's obligatory steal. Even though Adrian had no idea what was going on, it seemed to him that the sisters were prettier in the mirror below him. I wanted to find it impossible to describe in words What I felt as soon as I first felt about my sister's desire to marry Zerkane. Thoughts having realized that Rafina was telling Zircon 100 times for him, wanting to worry about it, maybe he wouldn't allow it to happen. As soon as she grows up, she immediately forgets about this situation, and to begin with, she just needs to get closer to her. Adrian having added that the girl's room is already ready, wants to sing and admire her at the same time. Rafina believed that her brother was working for her, but with him, she felt much more comfortable than with Violetta or Jerkan. It was unclear why the girl's heart began to beat violently. They put them on her from the front house and put her in a tiny room, and there was nothing. For her, the hope for a better life was blossoming, and now, as soon as she went into the room, she almost went blind because of how spacious and beautiful it was. She had never seen such a luxurious interior. There was an incredibly pleasant smell, and she was simply incredibly large, and her brother was calmly satisfied that everything went well for the girl. In the past life, the girl could not find such a room, but here she will live. That resting place seemed like a small thing to my brother, and the stench of 3 rubles laughed. Adrian said that she can use this room until she grows up, but after the fun, she will no longer be needed. That little girl seemed to just lie down and could not express in words how wonderful this place was. Once again, she said goodbye to her brother's little room and stroked her brother. You sit down before her lightly and ask for everything she needs. The Countess became like an Adrian. It was very tender and warm, and I wanted it to last forever. Now she's definitely determined to kidnap Adrian at any cost. Tim's butler arrived and informed his friend that his friend had arrived. The lad began to jump, and the little girl did not understand who was about to arrive. The first lad thinking about Zircon. And then having realized that he was incredibly busy, he couldn't come to visit him even though he really wanted to. Even though I didn't know who had arrived, my soul was no longer at peace. Unexpectedly, the heir to the king himself arrived in the room when he greeted Adrian and Rafina, and the elder brother wondered why he was staying here. Jerkan simply forgot to tell about those who came today and also talked about Rafina. Adrian was even more angry at this, putting his sister behind him and not wanting to let the boy get to her. Aladzirkan having said that he was guilty and promised truthfully that he would come was incomprehensible to the lad's appearance. Seeing his nerves, Adrian squeezed his sister's hand so tightly that it started to hurt. He immediately started to confront her because he didn't want to hurt her. Mitya later, the girl ran away to Zerkan. At this turn, Adrian simply noticed that there was a tear in his face. From time to time, the happy girl did not forget to tell the star about those who were threatening to become friends. The heir to the throne said that when the warmth of the Sustrich was enough, he bowed to his elder brother. Adriano had nothing left to do except to chat. Zirkan patted the girl on the head and said that we would never be able to lose even more rights. But Rafina was still satisfied, even when she was married. Vona Mitya led him to her room to show how luxurious she was. The girl noticed that it was incredibly large, so the guest chuckled and gushed that she could sleep here alone. With a passion for her appearance, the girl began to sing that she could even if she had already grown up and not get into any troubles. She added that a fun room makes it more fun. Zorkan really wanted to lose himself in her. And even more so, I thought Rafina was even more cute. If you have seen your brother, no one has such thoughts, although your brother is still worse than everyone else. Alay Rafina was completely different. There was that little tender cry. Her voice was so beautiful that when you called him by name, his soul became warmer. Zirkan, having fallen in love with her older brother, makes the excuse that she herself, at the first opportunity, asks to become friends with her. Having noticed that Rafina really likes her room, and the girl just got used to it, she again doesn't notice how she's behaving like a child. Vaughn decided to take it in her hands, and deprived her of another one on the right. Vaughn was inspired to take care of him once he got around to it. That young man said that at the moment, it's hard for me to bear witness to the food supply, and in the future, there will be no money at this hour. Then, Violetta and Adrian themselves arrived to the capital. The girl began to think, and a wonderful idea appeared in her head. She couldn't understand why she hadn't thought about it earlier. She needed to get along with the mother of the crown prince. The girl promised that one day she would come again. I realized that my mother couldn't die, and that she could deal with this problem sooner than the main reason for the crown prince's madness would pass. The boy chuckled and said that I would check on her. Before leaving Zircon, she agreed to sit down again. This is a wonderful job because it is not so easy to work the position of the hand and heart. But a different problem arose for her brother Adriana, who sat in embarrassment. It was not easy for Aja when a friend tried to bring out a younger sister in you. You can understand that the long-lost sister only returned to her father's house, and all her respect is limited only to strangers. She decided to correct this problem, and immediately began to eat at once, and there is no more suitable solution in the fight against sadness. The boy was happy that the girl initiated the initiative and gave him a cake. Vona added a cake for her most beloved brother, was really inspired to love that Zircon stronger than anyone. Then our heroine realized that Adrian was still just a child. I'm going to the wall because I know there's a dumb angel in such fits. Rafina said that it's not at all like that, even if you love him the most. A chuckle immediately appeared on the boy's face. That girl added that, with the mirror over there, it's all the same to make friends in any situation. She also punished that it is his responsibility to make friends with Violetta, even if he wants to live with her. In addition, if Adrian and Violetta are the first to tie a loving relationship, then there will be no need for them to leave the mirror, and they can simply become friends on the other side. For our heroine, this seems to be the shortest way out of the situation, even though in the original, I would need a girl's boyfriend only formally. Vona believed that she would marry for love. For an hour the Duke was catching his daughter's deceiver. He wondered why he was here. The Viscount repented, and not knowing that the cursed woman had replaced the child. The Duke did not want to hear from him, but grabbed his shirt and got drunk as if he dared to beat his child with his own bare hands. The man was singing that he took the knowledge of evildoing as if it were not his child. I couldn't understand how they could be so reduced to a dry child. The man's words sounded so dumb that he himself was ready to feel so much concern for his child. That's why it's all true, even if you beat your own child or a stranger without any care, in any case, by starving him or beating him to death. Duke Eston could not hear such pitiful words from him, but struck him on the nose, promising that he would only get out of the report about the fact that he was the head of the guild murderer. The Duke's companions said that the man was worthless trash, and that as he lived, it would be only worse for him. The Duke recognized that he took 3 rubles. He doesn't understand what the difference is between this guild and anyone else, even though only filthy people who are as greedy as Vine are engaged in them. The man began to understand those who were involved in gambling, human trafficking, and other greedy speeches, like Viscount, who had already been caught 5 times. Krivnik seemed to be simply in shock, but could not come to terms with it. The Duke told him that it would be better to hope to live, but simply to die. He ordered his killers to finish on the right, and he himself began to walk unconcernedly into the blessed car. The girl woke up in the morning and could not find her doctor, but wanted to sleep in his arms. There is no need to call out another spirit, she called out to Orphan, and immediately flown into the space before her. Orphan could not believe that the girl called out to him. The young lady asked the spirit to calm down and behave quietly, and she told her to tell her where the ruby had gone. The spirit of the confession that one of the chambers took him, while there was a woman sleeping, she took the bear to get rid of him. Vin was very grateful for the additional help, and she slept so sweetly that Orphan ordered you to shut your mouth. Realizing what had happened, the girl Mitya called out to Selena. The doctor is hanging in the middle of other clothes. Rafina keenly knew him, and listened to the greedy piece he was in, immediately tied him up, and then began to beat him out of his greedy torment. The girl had been deprived of everything, and could not help but now the wine was already clean, and had such a delicious smell. The lady noticed that the doctor could use the power of Orphan in order to wash himself, but Alexander did not want to make contact with the water spirit. Violetta came quickly to the room and happily greeted the girl. Rafina ran up to her and hugged her at the same time, boasting of her reputation as a dear person, and in turn, gaining the reputation of a child. Violetta asked what the girl remembers about today, and the thought flew out of her little head, about the smell of today and going to Zircane's. Today's day is history. Selena gave her a wonderful haircut, and her mother picked out a blue dress. It contains a gift for the boy. Everything is absolutely perfect. Adrian, having treated his sister, was shocked, and the fairy was silent. The little girl chimed and told her brother that there was a dumb angel. Violetta inspired the girl's thoughts about her, and Tarafina thought that she was also like an angel. Over the past 5 days, Violetta and Adrian have become very close and have lost all their affection for Zircon, the girl thought. The day when the world turns out is very close. Having arrived at the place, she was shocked by how beautiful the palace looked. It was so great that she saw herself in the film. Having touched the statue of King Von, I thought that it was already 3 rubles too much. The chamber brought tea and got out for the fact that the crown prince had 3 rubles at a time, adding that at the moment no one else had anything planned, so he would come to them all year. Violetta called Adriana and asked to look at Rafina. The girl was really worried. The couple gave in to the sweetheart that they laughed and couldn't get over it. Our heroine never experienced such a turn of events. Just recently, she was eating dog food from a bowl and was pulled into a slammer. Viscount called her an unfortunate poverty, and the words still cannot get out of her head. Raptum, the doctor guessed that at any moment, if necessary, the girls could crush the entire castle without calling any Zeusels, and she asked not to do so. I want the share of the entire kingdom to be in my hands. The desserts looked overly luxurious, and she decided to say everything without conscience. Everything was incredibly delicious. It was amazing how she felt about being in the castle. When the girl knocked at the door, she forgot to pull the fork out of her mouth and turned around to wonder who it was. Say came Zircon. He was punished for being late. Rafina was very happy with you and wanted to hug him already. The crown prince's uncle told him that the girl was wrapped. He was incredibly beautiful, man for the sake of the Master Yastona and Mr. Fitz. Vin said that he was a guy and introduced himself as Idan Rolianum. The girl bowed before him and added that she was also very glad since he was Jerkan's uncle and turned out to be the queen's younger brother. As far as the plot goes, the royal family was contentedly friendly until all of them came together and ruined this idyll. The uncle of the inherited prince called the girl very cute, but she didn't understand why he was so kind. He added that he wanted to introduce something else to them. Mitya later showed his squad and introduced herself. Her name was Anna. The girl was already trying to breathe, and even through her the blizzard effect would appear. She herself is the first reason for all the subsequent steps of her deed to destroy the royal family. In our heroine's opinion, she was a greedy person. The girl didn't know how to get ahead of everything, and nothing came to her mind. It might be a good idea to try Zupaniti, which would be fun, the girl thought. The young lady was so lost in thought that she didn't notice the mirrors next to her, which is why she greeted her when she arrived. Vaughn turned around to the new having drunk and not wasted during the period of her absence. Rafina immediately took him by the hand and greeted him, and she again told him about those who had become friends with her. Adrian, having asked in Violetti, thinks about the same ones. Nowadays, our heroines were wondering what was the way to cope with this love system. But in the end, you need 2 correct options, and it's not a fact that everything will turn out well in Adriana. Uncle Zircana said that the stench was upon them, and at that moment, the girl was crying that she needed to marry his whore. The man poured tea and discovered that he was planning to meet with his high-ranking crown prince in the first place, and he was also told that the queen was in the meeting room. He also presented his betrothed in front of the mirror and revealed what he had written about her in a letter. The young man's uncle noticed that the little one was soon enough to get along with his upcoming squad that was better than the queen herself. The boy confirmed this. But in fact, the young man didn't react at all, and I was completely unaware. The girl was happy, and even guessed that she was such a badass, but didn't know what the table was. The news of Adrian Violet noticed that they didn't really know, and said that they might just be tortured. In any emergency, the girl would need to provide meals to the potential retinue of the queen's young brother. Rafina made Anna look right at her. Very angry, the girl ran towards Violetti, who didn't understand what was going on, but simply mumbled, "The girl miraculously knows what kind of people this is, and doesn't want to talk to her." The veterinarian asked what the plan was in them. In the original novel, Uncle Zircon had a hard time getting this girl before returning to the capital, but the truth is that he has to carry someone else's child. It's just that right now, kissing a person is different from anything else. It's surprising that at this moment, there is such a pure and innocent energy in her that it is important to notice that she has a different specialness, but don't be surprised by her modest appearance, even more than a Zorstock. In the past, this woman worked in the doorway and regularly beat the children. Surprisingly, the role does not mark anything. He looks so dumb, he can't guess what he's talking about. Anna behaves confidently, that if she doesn't know anything, she can easily be deceived. Through this woman, there is no eager forgiveness. She vicarizes her loving people for powerful purposes. In the near future, after the birth of someone else's child, Roliana's wife turns back to her first husband, having robbed the queen's young brother. What is most shocking is that another relative of the queen, even after this fact was revealed, is ruling the family to bring about misfortune. Label Rolian as an unprincipled person in whom the squad has been selected. and it is impossible to turn back the stolen goods. The queen's family will lose both prestige and pride, and the younger brother will lose his title through disgrace and will increasingly face financial difficulties, and members of the family will begin to move further and further away from one another. All this trouble will fall on the queen's shoulders. Why is our heroine so afraid and disrespectful of the woman sitting right in front of her? The witch knew that after her queen fell ill with a minor illness, the girl asked to help her. You can't allow Zerk and Zishoff out of reason. The doctor had the idea to simply tell everyone in the background that this woman was pregnant. Rafina confirmed that it was not easy, but their dialogue was interrupted by a young couple. Rolian said that he would like the wife to give birth to a sweet sister for His Highness as the crown prince. The lady added that she would be glad if a little girl was born in them. Rafina seemed to be quite satisfied with the desserts. Tim the doctor asked her to bend down even if she wanted to be told. Alexander came up with a cunning idea to resolve the situation, and an evil laugh appeared on the face of our heroine. The girl came up to Anna and turned to her. She directly said that she would really soon give birth to a child. Vaughn added that Anna was already wearing it in her tummy. The woman was shocked. The witch said that there is a legend about how the children of the village think that a woman is pregnant. If life is born in a girl's belly, other children can imagine in this beautiful way. The little angels were given a wish for the announcement in this child's life, and in this way, people began to believe in those things. Children will understand if a woman is pregnant. People think like this all the time, no matter what you believe in anything, otherwise you will lose your belief. Anna didn't know what happened, and the queen's younger brother also couldn't understand what was going on. Anna changed her appearance. She marveled at the girl with anger, and Rafina had a miraculous chance to end the situation and go nowhere. Anna wanted to turn everything into heat. That little girl sang that she was sung at the height of the little one. Adrian quickly screamed at his young sister and asked her to be quiet because she couldn't behave like that. Anna laughed and said that there was fire in the distance. Violetta wanted to break up the silence and asked for the date of the party. Rolian, having told the story about everything over a cup of tea, then asked to go to the toilet to powder her nose. Rafina said without hesitation that she should also powder her nose. The room wanted to help, but the girl said that she was getting into trouble herself, and she just wanted to wash her hands. Having gone to the toilet, she shook Anna's hands. The girl decided not to speak and say again that there was a child in her stomach. Vaughn told the young lady that if she continued to talk like that, she might run into great inconsistency. Anna sat down with the girl, and she said that she had grown up to hate children because they were lying, and she asked, and she understood well, that fathers leave such kind of lies and send them to the children's sanctuary. Vaughn continued to spout greedy speeches about how lies are punished by beating people until they are blue in the face or locked up in a tiny room without food or water. Vaughn added that the aristocrat with the largest family is not at all guilty of telling a lie, but the witch said that Vaughn is in trouble, so you can press on the woman from a distance. Rafina chuckled and said that she understood everything. Anna actually has a baby in her belly. The little girl got angry and already raised her hand to hit the girl. She immediately said the surname Gerstein. The woman's hand hung in the wind. The distraught woman could not understand the stars, but everyone knows who she was. By the time the girl's plan had been executed perfectly, the cries came running to the bed, and Rafina began to cry a lot. Before everyone finds out about Annie's vagrancy, the girl wants to reveal her rotten nature. The queen came and was simply godlike, and she ate what was going on here. Everyone started whispering. The doctor told the girls that it was time to get home, and the queen had arrived, and this was a chance to reveal Annie's nasty nature. She ran to the queen and screamed that she was in pain. Now the women understood why it was so noisy. Shakreka was holding the ice in her hands, and she began to make excuses, saying that the girl herself had fallen. That queen ordered her to stop talking and telling what was going on here, because all the noise gave her a headache. One of the chambers revealed that the daughter of the Duke of Eston, as well as the guest of His Majesty the Crown Prince, she added that she heard the sounds of voices from the door to the hospital. The queen noticed how beautiful the little girl was, and she seemed like a goddess. She also thought that Lord Rolian had arrived, and Anna interrupted her thoughts by saying that it was a great honor for her to marry the queen. The woman knew her and said that she knew her, and she was named Idana. The queen took the girl in her arms and wondered why she was crying. Even though Rafina knew that the Queen of Goodness hadn't touched the table yet, there was a silent angel weeping and hugging the girl. And it became clear that such a sensitive person was dying of illness, And all because of greedy people. We couldn't allow this to happen. The girl added that Anna herself got angry and shook her, pointing her finger at hers. The queen wondered if it was true that Anna began to justify herself by revealing that it was all a provocation of the little girl. Rafina continued and realized that Anna was very swelled and there was a baby in her stomach, and the baby grew with joy for her. After thinking for a while, the queen realized why the young people so eagerly wanted to start having fun. Anna wanted to sing that she's not a great lady. That queen said that it's not good to stand up to anyone and it's like that, or for the girl it would be an absolute failure. But in order to get ahead of the fun, I just got along. Ale all the same little benefit bula ajiani bulu unhandled. Rafina is obliged to reveal the truth. She asked the queen to sing with her. Eden hugged the queen, but he was already very close and could not arrive earlier. Having noticed that the woman has lost a lot of weight, nothing can be done even on the shoulders of the queen of the faceless turbot. The woman pinched the boy's cheek and said that he looked very happy. It seemed to everyone that there were quite a lot of wonderful things in them, but Zircon said that everything was fine, and they would never behave so rudely again. This greatness will remain with a weak influx after coming to the throne. Vaughn, in a natural manner, fell asleep, squeezed into a cage, and without looking at herself, she was able to preserve her authority. But for his power-hungry relatives, the king still faces a great problem, and the queen's power has grown through his support. Therefore, the homeland of Her Majesty tried everything possible to bring the prince back to power. Through this mirror, they made such greedy speeches, but they were deprived of everything by being a child. Rafina was already very overcome with emotions, and she did not want to allow evil people to continue to abuse children. The veterinarian told the girl that she wanted to immediately pretend to be great and crush everyone here who did not belong to her. The lady pulled his cheek and punished him not to say such stupid speeches. Vaughn said that she was a child, and she added that she could hardly say similar words. That's why a girl respects herself when she's grown up, and that's what she's proven. The queen, having learned the news about Annie's vagrancy, asked about her in Adana, but had no idea what was going on. The woman began to remember that there was no need to capture the importance of even everyone, and the Shahreka looked tense. Rolianne wants to sing that she will have mercy, and even Rafina and Anna have literally just learned that her words may not be true. That queen said that there was nothing to understand, and even if a child spoke such speeches, the child would definitely appear in the near future. The boy laughed and said that they will try their best. Although Rolian and the rather evil one would like to make friends with Anna, they are still not among these people who are ready to waste their honor and pride through a woman. Previously, Anna was proud of her actions, but now she is worried that they will not be caught in lies. Adrian saw that Rafina was crying again and was tired of eating. The girl said she was just really angry. Anna said that she was standing behind her, and she accidentally bawled at him, and she herself was startled when she fell. Vaughn wanted to get the girl to tell her that she was always being a bit of a jerk. Rolian asked the name to be a guardian, and added that Anna, who was first in the castle, might not be robbed. The girl's plan fell apart, even though she planned to inform the queen only by twisting Rolian himself. The young lady didn't know how to tell the boy that Anna wanted to hurt him. The queen asked the couple to go to the garden. She said that they should talk there, and Zircana asked to show the guests. After hopping around, the girl quickly got up from the sofa and asked the woman to tell him if he wanted to know. That queen said that next time she would ask her mother to feed them deliciously. The queen's beauty enchanted her, and she looked incredibly kind, and having collected her thoughts, the girl realized that she needed to check her 3 rubles in case it was surprising that she would continue talking about the same thing. Jurkan extended his hand to the girl and asked her to make sure she didn't get hurt. The girl confirmed that she was fine. As she walked, she exchanged glances with Anna, and she also seemed wondrous. The veterinarian not knowing what to do right now is the role of the bailiff Anna, and sooner for all the fun, deprive him of food for an hour. Rafina confirmed that there was no longer any need to return to the castle with her mother. But it's impossible to believe the stench of the child's words. Tim and our Zircan got into the girls and hit her hard when she took her hand. Adrian was shocked by this, although Rafina had better taken his hand before the coming prince. You already want to tell Jurkan that Violetta convinced him. The girl's older brother promised to change the laws in the near future to the order of establishing a whore. Violetta admired the couple. The smells were very similar. Rafina was pleased with the result, and she would steadily get closer to him until she became friends. Vaughn looked at her face and said that she was crying. One of the queen's servants stood on the windowsill. The girl got tired and wanted to go crazy before the Lady Violetta patted her on the head and said that soon everything had become rotten and the rest of the room just needed to stay for 1/10 hour. Rafina thought and liked the girl's thought, and there's no reason to just interfere like that, even if it's not acceptable. As a result, the stench ended up in the library. Rafina didn't realize the stench of such flamboyant teachings, and although it was commendable, the atmosphere here was quite cackling. Adrian wanted to learn more about the labor system, and Violetta was looking for books about the law. Rafina thought that they had come here to have fun and not to study. Although sitting next to the mirror, it seemed that everything was not so bad. It was impossible to waste my ability. Tim an hour, the boy gave 3 livers to the girls. Our heroine happily received the gift. Eunuch thought about the need to prepare more of his favorite snacks. Rafina immediately realized that Anna had specially pushed her axe so that she wouldn't get hurt, but she became very angry and started crying. Zirkin found everything strange, and perhaps this situation was not just a freak. Having thought deeply, it's simply a shame to carry a child under your heart until you're happy. Before that, she had been steadily marveling at the little girl with an intrusive look and was quite suspicious of her betrothed. Looking at the girl, her liver was full of radium, wishing she had a good appetite. Rafina told Zirkan that she had prepared a gift for him. The boy had a wonderful reaction. It seemed to him that he didn't like that. The young lady asked him to close his eyes so that he could take the gift as quickly as possible. The boy chuckled and flattened his eyes, asking him to do everything correctly. The girl said that everything was fine and asked not to look and to extend her hand. Raptum, the young man saw in his hand how wonderful it was when he opened it. Then he added a brooch with an azure-colored stone. Such embellishments are especially significant in this world, and even a magical magic is superimposed on them. Roshiva will be given the bottom in azure blue. The stench is proof of father's love and symbolizes support for the royal family. It itself is being put as a gift, and unfortunately, Zirkin never rejected this in his life as a father. Another prince specially wore a brooch donated by the king to show off to him. Although Zirkan did not show his true emotions, it was definitely very sad and disappointing, and in the end, the child would be deprived of everything. He was fed into the girls with more than one of these things, through Duke Eston, having recently worked a lot of trouble. The girl said that this is a special brooch, and it contains a magical magic. It looks incredibly expensive. It's almost blinding. Having won in absentia before her father, she still gave it to her, even if he needed more. In the novel, it is difficult for you to inflict severe moral trauma, but this brooch is responsible for helping in the healing. In a relationship with another prince, Zirkin is taller and more beautiful, the girl said. The crown prince wondered if he should give this brooch to Adrian, and the girl said it was a gift. Vaughn added that in such a manner, you can show people how valuable Vaughn is to you. Zirkin was impressed that only dads should give azure brooches, although they could actually give leather like this to their dear people. Perhaps he doesn't know the deep meaning of these speeches. That girl really appreciated him a lot. Vaughn said that the firebrand should be in the middle of nowhere. The girl approached him and said that it's true, and we can give such a gift to our dear people. Eunuch chuckled and believed that the girl was absolutely right. From the sight of all this, the boy was already starting to shine and realized that the main character was still the most beautiful. The girl asked not to forget the star in her new brooch and proudly showed it to herself and said that she had given it to hers. Zirkin hugged her and stroked her head. Even though Rafina was only able to calm the boy down, she also didn't forget to tell him that it was his fault that he might become friends with her. Eunuch couldn't stop laughing because he sensed that he didn't understand why the girl wanted to marry someone so badly. He didn't understand that there was only one way to make him happy, so the girl said that Zirkan is the most beautiful in this world, and the veterinarian asked Rafina to think again. In the novel, he is the death for all women, with an imperfect body and good looks and a strong will. He is literally the ideal, although he has a rotten character. That girl wouldn't say that. In her new greedy character, she would sit and laugh and stroke her head. The couple went to the room and wondered what Zirkan and Rafina had done. The heir to the throne said that they themselves could marvel at it, and again, tension appeared between them. That Violetta slammed the book on the table and said that it was impossible for him to demand Zirkan's help. To begin, Zirkin needs to withdraw parliamentary approval for his support. As the crown prince of this state, it is even important for him to ask for help. The heir to the throne, laughing, although Violetta did not find it funny. Adrian thought that the boy supported such a love system. It just looked so dumb in Rafina's eyes that he loved Zirkin even more strongly. The boy didn't want anything literally learning from the devil. Violetta hugged the girl together with Adrian, and she asked that she didn't want to marry her. The heir to the prince, without letting go of the brooch, was given to him by the girl holding it in his pocket, having guessed that he had asked his mother for the same. Although my father had given me a gift from the brooch, my mother said that when he becomes king, it's not good for him to behave like a little child. He needs to become stronger and firmer. Another prince cannot take the throne, and father said that he needed to become richly powerful and report to him, because without a brooch, you will be much happier. She remembers well the words of her mother, who asked her not to get hung up on just one embellishment. In truth, he perfectly understood the value of the azure brooch, and he constantly remembered the warmth of Rafina's words. The children went to the library, reading a lot of literature, and could not come to terms with the fact that they were unable to pick up whores. Rafina realized that she had gone too far in her goal of marrying Zirkan. From the very beginning, she wanted to feed the queen and the ruling family, and without anyone, a lot of problems arose. Now the main task is to reveal the fact of Annie's virginity. She thought for a long time and could not find a suitable method. Orphan appeared immediately knowing how to help, and this was simply a miraculous option. Rafina was only fed and allowed to walk, so now she no longer has the urge to marvel at him. The water spirit was very confused, and the girl already wanted to send him away, and Alexander said that this could be true. Still, the girl was skeptical and asked how Orphan could help him at all times at court. He's happy to know that he spent a lot of time in the queen's treasures and now knows how to make her believe her words. That girl didn't want any unnecessary words and needed a decision. She had only one mind in the spirit, but wanted to take on a different form. Still, Orphan is a water spirit that has great power. It cannot be called just a stream of thoughts that flies, but he is also very cunning and intelligent. The lady didn't want to get along with him because she knew that she had come up with something nasty, and she urged the medic to just kick him out. That spirit of goodness listened to her calling her a goddess. And it's not just that the true deity is here to reveal the true form of the spirit, but to begin with, it is necessary to conclude a contract so that only after this deity effectively becomes the ruler of the spirit. But Alexander did not deserve even the first spirit that appeared in her, and it was necessary to conclude a contract with him. Between the spirits, the husky flared up again. The stench began to beat one another, and the girls in front of them only had a headache. As a result, the remaining ruler of spirits has been alive for hundreds of years, and both have long since become simply a legend. The spirits did not trust people, and were looking for someone who could conclude a contract with them. According to the plot, Violetta herself turned this legend into reality. All spirits were similar. The only unique thing among them was Ruby. At least he has a simple but incredibly strong spirit. Before that, Zirkin also holds a bunch of concluded contracts with perfumes. Orphan at this time presenting himself as incredibly good, wonderful, and incredible, the girl realized that she wanted and wondrously and badly. Rather, for all we can accept the appearance of a contentedly accepted person, wanting a new, greedy character, or at the same time the stink of just children. Rafina said her verdict: she will not enter into a contract with him, but rather to the queen. The spirit does not want to turn around to her and joke with the other master. But she still couldn't sign a contract with him, even though it was his fault to take Zirkan. Adrian, having closed the book of understanding, changed the love system not so easily as he had imagined. Violetta quietly walked up to the boy and in a whisper said to look in the direction of the girl. As soon as I turned around, it seemed incredibly cute that the little girl had fallen asleep with her favorite toy. The couple stood over the girl and admired her. Her hand seemed incredibly small, and if they put a finger there, the girl instinctively took hold of it. The couple could not pretend to do so. Zirkin said to cheer up Adriana. That lad crossing his arms stood in white and asked why it would be too late. Raptum Violetta stood between the boys and said that Zirkin would never make friends in Rafina being the crown prince because he was also his father. This couple was incredibly similar to each other, and the stench looked so funny that the boy burst into laughter throughout the room. Arriving from the road, Adrian Vishoff, with a carriage at the same time as Rafina on the shoulders of their friends, it turned out that the girl was severely tortured. Yunak said that there is no need to worry, and I need to talk privately to my dads. Our little heroine woke up to a lot of noise. The elder brother and sister, they noticed and even quarreled over who would be with Rafina. Mom picked her up and took her in her arms. At this moment, the young lady said that her mother was a dumb angel and the woman asked how her trip had gone. Raptum Dad, peeking behind the door and wondering how everything had passed, looked like he was croaking. Having gathered all her strength, the heroine extended her hand to him. After all, her father's denunciation turned into incredibly happy, and tears began to flow as he waited for the moment when his daughter was not afraid of him. In the face of such strong feelings, Father Rafina realized that he really was such a soft and sweet person. At this moment, Adrian arrived in the room and informed that Zirkan was in the capital, and Violetta turned home. The girl calmed down. It seemed that she still planned to kiss her goodbye in a mirror and repeat taking them for her squad once again. The elder brother clearly stroked his sister on the head and said so that she doesn't worry about the stench and go there more than once. The boy, having discovered it, does not fail, but rather play with him at once. The whole family went to hug, and there was a sense of peace among all the reigning kindnesses. The fathers were fed up with Adriana and all the news in the capital. The boy found out that nothing like this had ever happened, although one incident was still bothering him, and if the prince played the role of Ian, he brought his wife, and she screwed Rafina. This greatly worried their fathers, especially their father. The smile immediately disappeared from his face, and he could not understand how an unknown woman could do this to his child. He ordered Rendell to call out all the faces. The squad said that they would particularly like to get in touch with the Queen. The Greens were ordered to prepare all the speeches for Rendell's trip to collect the leaders and prepare them before the attack. The whole family began to protect the younger sister. The twins were at home, and it was their fault to kidnap her. Really, the Cap girl tried to straighten everything out and say that she wasn't hurt at all. They didn't believe her words, and she was given a lot of respect in the capital, so she quickly forgot about it. That mother of Athena was tuned in to Rosmova and her fiancé. She wanted some kind of explanation from her side. Our heroine was filled with a sense of wonder, with a sense of calm warmth and complete Zakist. The girl wanted to rage at her mother, but she had tears in her eyes and began to cry herself. Danka and Matir cried and hugged each other. Being in her room and talking with the witch doctor, an orphan, she realized that the situation was not so bad, and yet they still managed to beat the hawks from the queen. Rafina took the water spirit and said that it was his responsibility to take on the necessary form and conclude a temporary contract. Out of joy, the spirit began to kiss the girl, and she accepted him. Vin could not stop until the witch doctor Yogo and asked what to do. Orpheus Vidpoviv showed just love his mistress very much and poured yak into his mind. The girl confirmed that it was his fault that his plan was revealed. Once upon a time, this plan could not be carried out without any power, although the heroine would sign a valid contract with him so that everything would be successful. Having added that if you are in good spirit, you will listen to your masters. Lady didn't understand why the spirit had become so attached to her. She had a lot of thoughts in her head, and she didn't know how to get in touch. Orphan added that he wanted to meet the dear ruler, and the lady confirmed that Zirkan was also dear, but wanted to ignore it. The girl had to endure it so that everything would work out. Vaughn confirmed that it was okay, but I don't feel obliged to lay everything out perfectly, given that the bar for ideality is set by Vaughn, and she added another mind. The girl said that as soon as everything will work out, she will first sign a contract with her doctor, and only then with him. Apparently, the doctor escaped in tears before her, and it was incredibly welcome. He hugged her and said that from now on he believed in her. So Orphan took it all in and looked rather ominously, and we decided to start revealing something in a new way. Orphan had already been lying in a box of valuables of this magnitude for a long time, and often moved from some blue valuables to others. Orphan knew the character of Her Majesty from those days when only she appeared at the castle, and we spent an incredible number of hours in one place. Still, the girl didn't understand what he was saying. Vin Vidpoviv knows how to convey to the queen that she is named a queen from another person. Having added that this gentleman may not worry about the fact that the empress believes in the divination of spirits. Fortune tellers, under the supervision of monks and priests, use the power of nature, and not the power of the gods, as a way of compromising enumeration. I want to have weak magic in my hands, and only feel the stink of my craft. The power of nature is everywhere, and the magic of spirits is available to people. It was through those who believed in God that at one point they began to be wary of this phenomenon. In the distant past, due to the weakening of divine power, at the present moment, the effort of monks and priests also shows such a tendency. They repeat over and over again that their power is more noble and just and truly worries them all, because with the change of generations, chaklins with increasingly pronounced magical power appear more and more often. Our heroine guessed that in the original, the queen suffered a lot in front of the representatives of the temple. Orphan confirmed that everything is so great that he would rather believe the words of the spirit of the priest there. Rafina realized that Orphan's plan was not ideal, and even negatively minded people might be tempted to attack the queen or simply ask him to trust him. As soon as she has the greatness to ask the capital's chaklins, she immediately wants to consult the fortune-telling spirits, and as she said, the queen will choose the one she trusts. It is through this that Orphan will manipulate the power of the chaklun. Raptum, he added, that the woman also deeply believed in the foundation of the military spirit because he often looked at her. Afterwards, he began to praise his spirit and added that it was simply incredible. Athena wanted to see her greatness, but she still thought that it would happen 3 times later. And it turned out that she was heading there the next day. It was clear that her mother's mood was like that of a face, and having stepped onto the territory of the fortune teller, our heroine did not know if everything would be all right. The Sostrich with Her Majesty will soon be gone the room, and the butler asked for now to follow them. Our heroine was amazed at how luxurious everything was in this place. Mom encouraged her to go and try it with something tasty. As soon as the girl went to the hall, she drank an incredible amount of licorice there. All the luxurious malts and tea were prepared for them. Their mother greeted the room for the tea they poured, and the warm welcome. At this hour, Athena, who was a medical doctor, was gorging herself on licorice. My mother did not understand how a person could behave so unceremoniously with her sweet little child. The heroine's mother respected that, since her wife was supported by members of the royal family, she was unlikely to have given her enough information. At that very moment, Her Majesty Queen arrived. The woman was punished for the fact that she had fallen asleep, and there were necessary inquiries in her. That Mother Rafina assured that there was no need to get out of school, even though they arrived earlier than the appointed hour. There was already a recent situation that arose when a girl named Anna treated her child unkindly. Danka realized that her mother was not ready to stand on ceremony and began to discuss it immediately. The woman asked the queen to accept the new world, especially not wanting to forgive her. The queen was so excited, and there was incredible silence in the hall. The greatness of the village in her thoughts did not know how she could not completely trust Annie's words. And on the one hand, she wants to be on the woman's side because her younger brother has brought her home. On the other hand, they don't want to recreate Duke Eston and his squad in their enemies. The maidservant came up to Her Majesty. There were new items in her from the Shakelin Drive. It was that same woman who was crying and crying all day long. The Queen Bula would be glad to come when she arrived, and the same chaklun was appointed Zustrik. The woman also added that she would take a talisman for Rafina, and this chaklun is the most beautiful in the region. Matir confirmed that she wouldn't mind, and they'll be here for everything. Mom whispered in her ear so that she wouldn't forget to whisper, and the little girl immediately nodded, which made the queen laugh a little. The stinks were about to explode into the light of spirits, a real lad in front of them, and being a chaklun. It was incredibly lucky that it arrived today. Rafina thought so, until Orphan said that he was coming here almost every day. Ruby said that the hour had come. That girl grew wild to her greatness. Vaughn pointed to a small book. She said that Selena had read it herself, and she added that it seemed like the spirits knew about everything. In it, there were stories about the massacre, about the fortune-telling of spirits, and she also added that everything is pure truth, and even the spirits know everything. The queen thought it was very nice. She knew Zerkana had read this book quite well. They decided to tell fortunes for the new family's May Day as planned. Chaklin poured water and said that the queen can ask for her food. How just a woman poured into the perfume about whores. Orphan immediately began work. A marvelous viras appeared at the chaklun, and the queen asked that everything was all right with him. I hope that this family will be destroyed, and everything will be planted by the woman herself. The man added that his soul would destroy absolutely everything, even though it was revealed by evil and cunning. The queen could not come to her senses. She did not believe and did not want to believe in the words, but the truth was one. Chaklin showed the spirit of the water orphan in front of her. The spirit confessed to the chaklun that a woman would carry another child in her womb and therefore fell to her knees. At this point, our heroine and her mother were keeping an eye on everything. The joyful spirit of the girl arrived, and she was fed up with a good fellow. That heroine out of anger fueled this. The spirit of believers simply propagated the version from both sides to the world, and that's the reaction is. So he respected the very essence of his greatness, until the new arrival of one of the greatest spirits, orphans. The queen made her plans so that if the words of the chaplain were true, then she would have to listen to Rafina. Our heroine burst into tears again, and her mother added that her greatness must be trusted to her bottom. Seeing this whole situation, the queen had a headache and didn't even know what she was doing. Vaughn seemed to the creator that the difficulties of hearing this order, it was necessary to call the doctor and bring Anna to her from the sapphire courtyard. The housekeepers all came to their senses and said that it was an order to resign without a word. Our heroine immediately added that while she was in the hospital, Anna said and repeated how much she missed Lord Hertstan, after which I went to my mother's side. The queen miraculously knows who she is. She belongs to one of the families that contributes to her greatness in the right. Out of anger, the queen clenched her fist and wanted to know the rest from Anna herself. At that very moment, Mr. Anna arrived. Kroleva said that she should pass so that the guests could check on her. The Trishki came closer to the place where Rafina and her mother were. Immediately after this appearance, the smile disappeared and signs of anxiety appeared. Krolev revealed that there was a little inconsistency between them, and that it was true. She said that children in this world often come up with differences on their own and easily have mercy. Vaughn added that everything was in order, and yelped for bringing the vibration. Wrapped him to the hall of the family. Vicomte Marion is a special doctor. The betrothed was convinced of her service, and was absolutely healthy, and did not want to cause any trouble to Her Majesty or the doctor. The queen added that a medical examination is necessary, even if it's more expensive to catch an illness. Although the girl was against the queen, she told him to finish it, and she punished the Viscount's doctor for his robot. The doctor conducted a medical examination of the viscosity of magical power, and Annie's appearance was shocked. Taking her by the wrists, he said that the woman was absolutely healthy, and then added 3 rubles that she was pregnant. After a few words from the doctor, the girl didn't know what she was doing, but she said that the child Edane didn't believe anyone. The queen asked why she won't be in front of Gerstan. The woman was shocked because she almost didn't understand how one little thing could ruin everything. This moment before the hall ran, I didn't understand why I was called in tears. The queen told her brother that this woman was carrying another man's child. That Eden відповів її. Anna thought that everything had come out in her. The queen ordered her to take the girl out privately. The brother asked his sister not to do anything, and she was not stolen. Our heroine immediately realized that just before the end of the day, the resting place was crying through the depths of love until Edane, although it was not mutual. The queen was sung in her words, but the woman having chosen her brother cannot enter into this role. This was the final word which greatly disappointed Eden. The woman's words made Rolian leave and ask him to be deleted from his home registry. The queen almost felt dumbfounded and asked her brother to stop and take back his words. Eden said that he would find Anna and leave the castle at once. In view of the emotions she had experienced and all the hopelessness that was lying around her, the queen of the village had lost her breath and even didn't understand what to worry about. She literally walked away as the queen said that Caitlin should follow her brother. The girl didn't understand the whole thing, but the same woman ordered not to give food, but to just stop what she said. There was a lot of filth in the queen, and everything was connected again with Anna. Our heroine, sitting in bed with her mother, did not understand how everything could go wrong, and even everything went according to plan, until Eden ruined everything. On the face of the mother, there was also a surge in the atmosphere through Rafina, and we can't get to the queen, and even such a scene the child is not to blame. Having thought for a while that the girl had realized that she needed to do something, she told her mother that when she was going to the carriage, she should not think about her, but would busy herself with the queen's attention. Matir looked at her kindly, and supported by her gaze, mutely yapping for what the girl was doing. Vaughn added that she would come soon, and so Rafina could check the 3 rubles into the carriage. That our heroine did not go straight to the carriage, and it was necessary to quickly find the young ruler. The guards followed her and asked her to check if they themselves walked unsafely. Our heroine was only thwarted by the annoying Hisniki and asked Orphan to marry them. After another 3 minutes, it became clear that Caitlin was speaking with Eden, and it was clear that the stench had been even closer before. Having finished welding, the man turned around and began to walk, wanting the young girl to bless him, not to bother him. Vaughn stood in tears under the tree. She did not know that some tears were welling up behind her eyes. Obviously, she was endlessly kicking the young master. Then the postal bird brought the terminus letter from your lordship, the duke. The sheets contained information about Anna, and it was necessary to check them. Having read the sheet, the queen screamed, and Rafina's mother began to dance. The queen is very worried that if nothing is accomplished, the children will be left in danger. The stranger to bring the food to her. About an hour, our heroine went to the crying Caitlin and asked what befits her Edan. The girl confirmed that she really hated her. Orphan having scanned the young lady, she broadly shook the man, and her soul suffered the most. Rafina really couldn't understand how much pain she had to endure, but the girl didn't know why she hugged her. Anna came out from behind the bushes and said that it was all through her, and through her, all their plans were broken. There, Mitya pulled the bottom, and fearing death, the child was already swinging to hit. A moment later, Anna unconsciously tripped under a tree. Surprisingly, Rafina's mother perfectly wielded a sword and knocked the sword out of the hands of the stalked woman. She looked like an incredibly dumb angel who would always take care of the child. At the scene, he would be present, and Edan himself would be shocked by the sick person. The queen screamed at him and then hit him hard. Vaughn said that he was a fool, and through him, two absolutely innocent people almost got hurt. She threw a paper in her brother's face and asked if he really wanted to be taken into his squad, since I wouldn't try to kill a villain. And the brother on his knees could not believe it all, even though he had learned the most terrible secret of the woman who was planning to save her life by sacrificing everything. Mother asked Rafini that everything was fine with her, but she wanted to know and quickly lost her knowledge. They just woke up in the bed where Orphan and the doctor were watching her intently. Even if the girl just fainted, everyone was already hopping around a lot, and most likely everything is connected with this, because our heroine was hopping around more than she could have thought. It's even more amazing that such a kind and wonderful mother was at that time still a cold-blooded person and seemed extremely cool. Orphan could not finish agreeing to please the Vicon, but he himself signed a contract with him. But it's Ruby's fault from the start. The veterinarian has been aware of this moment for a long time and has diligently prepared and will be able to show his true nature. In front of our heroine, having appeared himself in an agreement, it seemed to her that this was an ancient language that simply wanted to be the language of their kingdom.